A glittering hotel, a silent little girl, a tired mother who's tried everything. Then a quiet man in a cheap uniform sits on the floor, and the unthinkable happens. One word, then another, a tiny voice waking up. But this miracle isn't supposed to happen. Powerful people whisper. A rival digs up the guard's past. Money and status slam the door on the only person who reached her. The girl begins to fade again, until she shocks everyone with two new words that change everything. Is love stronger than reputation? Will a humble dad risk everything to stay by a child who calls to him at last? And when a mother must choose between her world and her daughter's voice, which future will she fight for? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Rain hammered the glass doors of the Meridian Hotel, each drop catching the golden light from the chandeliers inside. The lobby buzzed with activity, caterers wheeling silver carts, florists adjusting towering arrangements of white orchids, and staff members checking clipboards with practiced efficiency. Elaine Harrington stood near the marble reception desk, her phone pressed to her ear. No, the board members need to be seated at table 3, not 5. Her voice cut through the ambient noise, crisp and controlled. She wore a midnight blue gown that cost more than most people's monthly salary, but the elegant fabric couldn't hide the tension in her shoulders or the faint shadows beneath her eyes. "Mrs. Harrington, the string quartet has arrived," an assistant informed her, tablet in hand. "Good. Have them set up by 7:30. Elaine's gaze swept the lobby, cataloging every detail. Everything had to be perfect. Everything always had to be perfect. Her eyes found Maya. The girl sat cross-legged near the fountain, her back against the cool marble base. Water trickled behind her, a gentle sound lost in the chaos of preparation. Maya's fingers traced invisible patterns on her sketchbook's worn cover, the leather soft from years of handling. She rocked slightly, forward and back, a rhythm only she understood. A couple in evening wear swept past, the woman's diamonds catching the light. They glanced at Maya, and Elaine saw the familiar sequence play out. Curiosity, discomfort, then the deliberate look away. The man whispered something to his companion as they hurried toward the ballroom. Elaine's jaw tightened. She started toward her daughter, then stopped. What would she say? What could she say that hadn't already been tried 100 times before? The glass doors swooshed open, bringing a gust of damp air. Daniel Brooks stepped inside, shaking raindrops from his security uniform. He moved to the small desk by the entrance, checking the employee roster before starting his rounds. His shoes squeaked slightly on the polished floor, practical rubber soles, not the leather dress shoes the gala guests wore. Daniel checked the first set of doors, tested the locks, then began his circuit of the lobby. He nodded to arriving guests, checking names against his list. "Evening, Mr. Patterson." Right through to the ballroom, his voice carried a quiet steadiness, neither servile nor presumptuous. His path took him past the fountain. Most people gave Maya a wide berth, creating an invisible circle of emptiness around her. Daniel noticed it, noticed her. The slight rocking, the way her fingers gripped the sketchbook like a lifeline, the loneliness that seemed to radiate from such a small form. He continued his patrol, but his attention kept returning to the girl. On his second pass, he slowed. On his third, he stopped. Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a paper napkin, slightly crumpled from his dinner break. He found a pen, nothing fancy, just a basic blue ballpoint. Keeping his distance, he crouched down, his knees protesting after 8 hours on his feet. He didn't look directly at Maya. Instead, he focused on the napkin, drawing quick, simple lines. A circle for a head. 4 stick legs that didn't quite match, lopsided ears, a tail that curved the wrong way. The dog looked ridiculous, like something a child might draw, except Daniel's lines held a certain charm, imperfect but earnest. Maya's rocking slowed. Her eyes tracked the movement of his pen, though she kept her head turned away. Daniel added spots to the dog. Then, because why not, he gave it a crooked smile. He set the napkin on the floor between them, far enough that she'd have to reach for it if she wanted it. No pressure, no expectation. He stood, his knees cracking, and walked back to his post. "Excuse me, you're supposed to check our names," a woman in pearls called out, irritation coloring her tone. "Of course, ma'am. My apologies." Daniel returned to his duties, but he kept Maya in his peripheral vision. Minutes passed. Guests continued arriving, their laughter and chatter filling the space. The string quartet began tuning their instruments, discordant notes floating from the ballroom. Elaine fielded 3 more phone calls, each one adding another line of stress to her face. Maya's hand crept out from her sketchbook. Her fingers brushed the napkin's edge, then pulled back. Another moment passed. Then, in one quick motion, she grabbed it. She studied the drawing, her head tilting slightly. She found a pencil in her sketchbook, one of many tucked into its spiral binding. Her hand hovered over the napkin. Then, with careful precision, she added a single line. A collar for the crooked dog. Elaine chose that moment to check on her daughter again. She saw Maya holding something, not her sketchbook but a napkin, drawing on it, adding to someone else's work. "Maya?" Elaine's heels clicked across the marble as she approached. "What do you have there, sweetheart?" Maya didn't answer. She never answered. But she didn't hide the napkin either. She held it up slightly, showing her mother the collaborative artwork. Elaine's gaze lifted, searching for an explanation. She found Daniel at his post, checking another guest's invitation. He glanced their way, and their eyes met across the busy lobby. He gave a small nod, acknowledgement, nothing more, before returning to his work. Elaine stared at him, this ordinary man in his ordinary uniform, who had somehow done what dozens of specialists couldn't. Maya was engaging, creating, sharing. The carefully constructed walls Elaine maintained, professional, controlled, impenetrable, cracked just enough for hope to seep through. The ballroom gleamed under crystal chandeliers, each table dressed in white linen and silver. Elaine stood near the podium, champagne flute in hand, but the bubbles had gone flat. Her smile remained fixed as board members droned on about quarterly projections. "Such a shame about Maya," Mrs. Whitmore murmured, leaning close enough that Elaine could smell her expensive perfume. 3 years is such a long time. Have you considered that residential program in Switzerland? We're exploring all options. Elaine's response came automatic, practiced. Mr. Harrison from the investment committee joined them, his voice pitched low. Children can be so resilient, but sometimes they simply don't recover. My nephew had similar issues after his accident. "And how is your nephew now?" Elaine asked, though she didn't care about the answer. "Oh, he's functional. Manages well enough with supervision." Functional. Manages. The words scraped against Elaine's nerves like sandpaper. Through the ballroom's grand entrance, she caught a glimpse of the lobby. Daniel stood at his post, checking another invitation. Professional, unobtrusive, ordinary. "Excuse me," Elaine set down her untouched champagne. "I need to check on something." She escaped before they could protest, her heels clicking a rapid rhythm across the marble. The lobby felt cooler, quieter, a refuge from the suffocating sympathy and speculation. Maya hadn't moved from her spot by the fountain, but something had changed. Daniel sat cross-legged on the floor now, maintaining that same respectful distance. 3 napkins spread between them like tiny canvases. He drew with the same blue pen, quick strokes forming a bird in flight, simple lines, nothing elaborate, but the bird somehow looked free, happy. Maya watched, her sketchbook forgotten in her lap. Daniel moved to the second napkin. A tree took shape, branches reaching upward, roots visible below the ground. He added leaves with small circular motions. The third napkin waited. Daniel drew 4 walls, a triangular roof, a door, 2 windows. A house. Smoke curled from a chimney he added with 3 wavy lines. He set the pen down between them and leaned back, studying his work as if it mattered. as if these simple drawings on cheap napkins were important somehow. Maya's hand moved, slow, deliberate. Her fingers closed around the pen. She pointed to the ink, still wet on the last napkin. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Blue. The word came out as barely more than breath, but in the lobby's quiet it rang like a bell. Daniel froze. His eyes widened, meeting Maya's for the first time. She didn't look away. Blue? Maya whispered again, touching the pen. Elaine's hand flew to her mouth. Her knees buckled, and she grabbed the nearest column for support. 3 years of silence, and her daughter had just spoken. Daniel seemed unsure what to do. He stayed perfectly still, as if any movement might break whatever spell had been cast. "That's right," he said, voice gentle. "Blue ink." Maya nodded, a tiny motion but deliberate. She kept the pen, holding it like treasure. Elaine crossed the space between them, her composure crumbling with each step. "Maya? Baby?" Maya turned toward her mother, but didn't speak again. She held up the pen, showing Elaine the blue ink on its tip. "Thank you." Elaine's words came out choked, directed at Daniel. Tears ran unchecked down her face, ruining her carefully applied makeup. I can't." Daniel rose slowly, his movements careful not to startle Maya. "I didn't do anything special, ma'am." Just sat with her. "You don't understand. 3 years, specialists from around the world. Nothing worked. Nothing." Her voice cracked completely. "And you just sat with her." From the ballroom entrance, board members had begun to gather, drawn by Elaine's absence. Mrs. Whitmore's eyes narrowed as she took in the scene. Elaine crying, a security guard standing too close, Maya clutching something in her small hands. "Is everything all right, Elaine?" Mr. Harrison's tone suggested he'd already formed his own conclusions. "Everything is perfect." Elaine wiped her face, not caring about the mascara streaks. "My daughter just spoke?" Whispers rippled through the gathering crowd. Some faces showed genuine joy, others displayed skepticism, especially when they noticed Daniel's involvement. "The security guard?" someone murmured. "How peculiar," Mrs. Whitmore added, her tone suggesting it was anything but a compliment. Daniel stepped back, professional distance restored. "I should return to my post." Elaine wanted to stop him, to ask 1,000 questions, but Maya had begun rocking again. The crowd was too much, too many eyes, too much noise. "Of course. Thank you, Mr. Brooks." Daniel Brooks. She committed the name to memory as he walked away, returning to his desk by the entrance. Hours later, in Maya's bedroom at their Beacon Hill mansion, Elaine smoothed the covers around her daughter's small form. The napkins lay on the nightstand, the dog, the bird, the tree, the house. Maya had insisted on bringing them home. "Blue?" Elaine whispered, testing the word. Maya's eyes remained closed, but the corners of her mouth lifted, just slightly, just enough. Elaine sat in the darkness long after Maya's breathing deepened into sleep. One word, one impossible, beautiful word given by a stranger who'd simply sat on the floor and drawn pictures. Tomorrow, she'd have to face the board's questions. Tomorrow, she'd have to explain why a security guard succeeded where specialists failed. Tonight, she held on to hope. The elevator to the executive floor made Daniel's stomach turn, not from the height he'd rappelled down buildings in Afghanistan, but from the absurdity of standing here in his faded security uniform while marble gleamed beneath his work boots. Elaine Harrington's office occupied the entire northeast corner of the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Boston's skyline. Her assistant, a sharp-dressed young man, barely glanced up. "She's expecting you." Daniel entered to find Elaine behind a glass desk that probably cost more than his annual salary. She wore a charcoal suit, every line precise, but dark circles shadowed her eyes. "Mr. Brooks, thank you for coming." "Ma'am? Please sit." The leather chair swallowed him. He kept his back straight, hands on his knees. I need to understand what you did last night." Elaine leaned forward. "My daughter hasn't spoken in 3 years. We've tried everything. The best therapists money can buy, specialists from Switzerland, behavioral experts from Johns Hopkins. Nothing worked. Then you sit with her for 20 minutes, and she speaks. How?" Daniel shifted. "I didn't do anything special. Just sat there, drew some pictures." "That's it?" "That's it." There must be more. Frustration edged into her voice. "Some technique, some approach?" "I didn't try to make her talk." Daniel met her gaze. "Maybe that's the difference. I just was there." Elaine studied him like a contract she couldn't quite parse. "Would you be willing to spend time with Maya after school? I'd compensate you, of course. Whatever rate you—" "It's not about money. Everything is about money, Mr. Brooks. Not this." He kept his voice level. "If I do this, it's because it might help your daughter." "Not for payment." Surprise flickered across her face. People didn't usually turn down her money. "You should know some things about me first." Daniel straightened. "I'm a veteran. Did 2 tours in Afghanistan. Lost my wife, Sarah, to cancer 4 years ago. I'm raising my son, Ethan. He's 16 on my own. We get by, but we don't live in your world." Elaine's fingers drummed against the desk. His words clearly made her uncomfortable, these glimpses of struggle she'd never experienced. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." Movement caught Daniel's eye. Maya stood in the corner near a bookshelf, so still she hadn't noticed her. She clutched her sketchbook, watching him with those serious brown eyes. "Hey there," he said softly. Maya didn't respond, but she took a small step forward. Elaine noticed. "She's been there the whole time. Wouldn't leave my office this morning." A pause. "She brought the napkins." "The drawings?" "She sleeps with them." Daniel absorbed this information. 3 years of silence, and his silly doodles had become treasures. "There's a cafe on Newberry Street," Elaine said suddenly. Quiet, private. "Could you meet us there this afternoon, around 4 inches? "I have a shift at 3. "I'll handle it." Of course she would. Daniel wondered what strings she'd pull, what calls she'd make, but Maya was still watching him, and that decided it. "All right." 4 o'clock. The cafe tried too hard to be understated. Exposed brick, Edison bulbs, baristas who called espresso extraction. Daniel arrived 5 minutes early, still wearing his uniform. No point pretending to be something he wasn't. Elaine and Maya entered exactly at 4. Elaine had changed into jeans and a cashmere sweater, probably trying to look casual. She still looked like money. Maya wore a purple dress and held her mother's hand tightly. They chose a corner table. Maya sat between them, creating a triangle. "Would you like something?" Elaine gestured to the menu. "They have excellent pastries." "Coffee's fine." Maya usually has hot chocolate. The drinks arrived in handmade ceramic mugs. Steam rose between them. Nobody spoke. Then Maya moved. She opened her sketchbook and carefully removed something pressed between its pages. The napkin from last night. The crooked dog with her added line. She placed it on the table with the reverence of someone handling stained glass. "You kept it safe," Daniel observed. Maya nodded. She traced the dog's outline with one finger, not quite touching the paper. "Should we add more to it?" He pulled a pen from his pocket, not the blue one, that was at home, but black would do. Maya considered this. Then she pushed the napkin toward him, an invitation. Daniel added a tail to the dog, wagging high. Then a sun in the corner, just a circle with rays. Simple additions that didn't overwhelm her original line. He slid it back. Maya studied the changes. Then, and Elaine's breath audibly caught, she took the pen, added grass beneath the dog's feet. 3 quick strokes, but deliberate. They continued this way, passing the napkin back and forth. No words, just shared creation, on a coffee shop napkin while expensive drinks grew cold. Elaine watched her daughter's face transform. The tight, guarded expression Maya had worn for 3 years softened with each addition to the drawing. When Daniel added a bird in the sky, Maya's mouth curved into something approaching a smile. "She's trusting you," Elaine said quietly, wonder in her voice. Daniel didn't respond. Trust was fragile. Acknowledging it might break it. Maya yawned, the afternoon catching up with her. She gathered the napkin carefully, returning it to her sketchbook. Then she did something that made Elaine's eyes fill. She leaned against Daniel's arm, just for a moment, the briefest contact. "Same time tomorrow?" Elaine asked, her voice thick. "Same time?" They parted outside the cafe. Maya walked backward, keeping Daniel in sight until her mother guided her around the corner. He stood there for a while, processing what had just happened. A little girl's trust. A mother's desperate hope. Tomorrow, he'd bring the blue pen. The Harrington estate sprawled across 12 acres of manicured perfection. Daniel parked his decade-old truck beside a fountain that probably cost more than his annual salary. His security uniform felt heavier here, marking him as someone who didn't belong. Mrs. Chen, the house manager, met him at the door. Her expression remained professionally neutral, but Daniel caught the quick assessment. The worn boots, the faded collar, the careful way he wiped his feet twice on the mat. "Miss Harrington is in the morning room with Maya," she said, leading him through a marble foyer that echoed their footsteps. The household staff they passed, maids adjusting flowers, a chef carrying silver platters, all paused to stare. A security guard in the family wing. Daniel kept his eyes forward, shoulders straight. He'd faced worse scrutiny in Kandahar. Elaine stood when he entered, Maya beside her on a cream-colored sofa that looked like it had never been sat on. "Thank you for coming." Elaine's formality couldn't quite hide her discomfort. "I thought the gardens might be nice today." "Gardens are good." Daniel looked at Maya. "What do you think? Want to explore?" Maya slipped off the sofa, sketchbook clutched tight. She waited by the French doors leading outside. The gardens were another world. Roses climbing trellises, herbs in neat squares, paths that curved toward hidden benches. Maya walked slightly ahead, stopping whenever Daniel spoke. "See that one?" He pointed to a flash of red in the branches. "Cardinal. They don't migrate. Tough birds. Stay through winter." Maya's head tilted, following the bird's movement. They walked deeper into the garden. Daniel kept his voice low, describing what they saw. The oak tree that was probably older than the house, the way lavender grew wild if you let it, how earthworms were actually good for soil. Maya listened. Her grip on the sketchbook loosened. Near the koi pond she stopped. A blue jay perched on the fountain's edge, preening its feathers. Maya watched it intently. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "Bird." The word came out scratchy, unused, but it came out. Daniel crouched beside her, keeping his voice steady. "That's right, a blue jay. Noisy fellows." The jay squawked as if agreeing, then flew off. Maya tracked its path until it disappeared over the wall. From the terrace, Elaine watched them walk back toward the house. Maya's steps were lighter, less guarded. She'd said another word, 2 words now, blue and bird. After 3 years of nothing. But at dinner that night, Richard Blackwood leaned back in his chair at the club, swirling his scotch. "Hiring babysitters in uniforms now, Elaine? How practical." The other board members chuckled. Elaine's fingers tightened on her wine glass. "He's helping Maya," she said evenly. "Oh, I'm sure he is." Richard's tone dripped condescension, though one wonders what else he might be helping himself to. "These people, they see opportunity." "These people?" "You know what I mean, different backgrounds, different motivations." Elaine wanted to throw her wine in his face. Instead, she smiled coldly. "Maya spoke today. First time in months." "Wonderful. Perhaps you should hire the entire security team. Imagine the progress." More laughter. Elaine excused herself early. Back home, She sat in her study, laptop open to quarterly reports she couldn't focus on. Richard's words gnawed at her. What would people think? A security guard spending time with the Harrington heiress? The whispers had already started among the staff. She'd caught 2 maids gossiping about that man from the hotel being given access to Miss Maya. Her position required respect. Perception mattered in her world. One wrong move, one scandal, and the board would pounce. They already thought her weak for keeping Maya out of boarding school. The door creaked. Maya padded in barefoot in her nightgown. "You should be sleeping, sweetheart." Maya approached the desk. She placed something on the polished wood, a napkin folded carefully. Then she retreated to curl in the leather armchair, watching. Elaine unfolded the napkin. Daniel's pen strokes were confident but gentle. 3 figures holding hands, a tall one, a medium one, a small one. The middle figure had long hair. The small one carried what looked like a rectangle, a book maybe, or a sketchbook. A family. Elaine's chest tightened. Sarah Brooks had been dead 4 years, her husband 3. Was this what Maya saw, what she wanted? Did Daniel draw this? Maya nodded. "Today?" Another nod. The figures were simple, almost childlike, but Maya had kept it, brought it to her, wanted her to see it. This mattered. "It's lovely." Maya's eyes stayed on her mother's face, searching for something. Truth, maybe, or permission. Elaine looked at the drawing again. 3 figures, not 2. Daniel hadn't drawn himself and his son. He'd drawn this, whatever this was becoming. "Do you like spending time with Daniel?" Maya's nod came faster this time, emphatic. Pride warred with pragmatism in Elaine's chest. Her daughter was healing, but at what cost to their standing, to her career? Maya slipped off the chair and approached the desk again. She touched the napkin, then touched her mother's hand. The contact lasted only a second, but it was intentional, deliberate, a choice. Elaine closed the laptop. Reports could wait. "Tell you what, why don't we hang this in your room, somewhere special?" Maya's face transformed. Not quite a smile, but close. She took the napkin carefully, cradling it like spun glass. They walked upstairs together, mother and daughter, carrying a simple drawing that suddenly felt like the most important document in the house. The park stretched out before them, Saturday morning sunshine cutting through oak branches. Daniel watched Maya's eyes widen at the expanse of grass, the playground equipment, the other children running past. "This is where Ethan and I come sometimes," he said, keeping his voice casual. "Good spot for thinking." Ethan jogged up from the parking lot, guitar case bouncing against his back. "Sorry I'm late." Mrs. Chen needed help with her groceries. At 14, Ethan had his father's steady presence, but carried it lighter, easier. He dropped onto the grass beneath a sprawling maple and unzipped the case. "You must be Maya." He didn't wait for an answer, didn't seem to need one. "Dad says you like to draw. I can't draw worth anything, but I play a little." Maya stood frozen, clutching her sketchbook. Daniel settled onto a nearby bench, pulling out a paperback, giving her space while staying close. From her position by the fountain 50 yards away, Elaine pretended to check her phone. She'd insisted on coming. For safety, she'd said, though Daniel hadn't questioned it. Ethan tuned the guitar, fingers moving with practiced ease. "This was Mom's. She taught me before." He caught himself, glanced at Maya. "She taught me when I was younger than you." A simple melody emerged, nothing fancy. 3 chords repeating, warm and patient. Maya took a step closer, then another. "You can sit if you want. The grass is pretty comfortable." Maya looked back at Daniel. He turned a page in his book, not watching, not obviously anyway. She sat, not next to Ethan, but near enough. The sketchbook stayed pressed to her chest. Ethan kept playing, humming along occasionally. After a few minutes, he started adding words, something about morning coffee and newspaper comics, clearly made up on the spot. Maya's shoulders relaxed incrementally, then so soft. Daniel almost missed it. A sound emerged from Maya. Not a word. A hum. One note, wavering but there, harmonizing with Ethan's melody. Daniel's fingers tightened on his book. Don't react. Don't scare her. Ethan didn't miss a beat, just nodded slightly and kept playing. The humming grew marginally stronger, still barely audible, but persistent. Elaine had stopped pretending to look at her phone. Her hand covered her mouth. They stayed that way for 20 minutes, Ethan playing, Maya humming intermittently, Daniel reading the same page 4 times. Other families came and went. A dog chased a frisbee nearby. Normal Saturday things. When Ethan finally set the guitar aside, Maya opened her sketchbook. She drew quickly, urgently. The maple tree, 2 figures beneath it. She tore out the page and handed it to Ethan. "This is really good. Is that us?" Maya nodded. "Can I keep it?" Another nod, more emphatic. "Thanks. I'll put it on my wall." Ethan carefully folded the drawing and tucked it in his pocket. "Same time next week." Maya looked at Daniel again. He closed his book, stood, stretched, like he'd just been enjoying the weather. "We should probably head back." As they walked toward the parking lot, Maya fell into step beside Daniel. Halfway there, her small hand slipped into his. Not grabbing, not desperate, just there. Daniel kept walking, kept his breathing steady, like she was a bird that might startle. Elaine saw it happen, saw her daughter choose this man's hand. The gesture knocked something loose in her chest, gratitude mixing with something sharper, fear maybe, or recognition of how much ground she'd already lost. That evening, Elaine had the dining room set formally. Good china, proper silverware placement. If Daniel was going to be part of their lives, he needed to understand their world. He arrived in khakis and a polo shirt. His best attempt at formal, she realized. The contrast with the room's elegance was stark. "Thank you for having me. Please, sit." The first course arrived, some complicated salad the chef had insisted on. Daniel navigated it carefully, clearly out of his element, but not embarrassed. They discussed Maya's progress, her interactions with Ethan, the slow emergence of her voice. "She's remarkable," Daniel said. "Just needs time, space." The specialist said similar things, 3 years' worth of similar things. Sometimes it's not about expertise. The main course came. Elaine watched him handle the array of silverware, choosing correctly more often than not. "You were married," she said. Not a question. "So, 16 years. Cancer took her." "I'm sorry." "Me too." He set down his fork. "She was the artist in our family. Always drawing with Ethan, especially when he was upset. Sometimes pictures say what words can't." "Is that why you started drawing with Maya?" "Honestly, I just wanted her to know someone saw her, really saw her, not her condition or her silence, her." The words landed soft but direct. Elaine took a sip of wine. "When Sarah got sick, Ethan stopped talking for a while too. Not 3 years, just a few months, but I remember that silence, how loud it was. What brought him back? Time, patience, his mother's guitar. Daniel's voice carried no judgment, no comparison, just shared understanding. Elaine felt her defenses wavering. This man, with his simple wisdom and calloused hands, understood her daughter in ways she'd failed to. Her phone buzzed on the sideboard. She ignored it. It buzzed again. "Excuse me?" The message was from Harrison Pike, her chief competitor for the Northbridge acquisition. A photo attached, Daniel and Maya at the park, her hand in his. The caption read, "Interesting company you keep these days. A janitor as your daughter's therapist." Ice formed in Elaine's stomach. Harrison had eyes on her family, on Maya. She returned to the table, phone clenched in her hand. "Everything all right?" Daniel's concern was genuine, uncomplicated. He had no idea what storm was building, what his presence in their lives might cost. Elaine stared across the table at him. Maya had hummed today, had held his hand, was healing. But Harrison Pike played dirty, always had. "Fine," she said. "Everything's fine." The lie sat between them like a third presence at the table. The following week settled into rhythm. Daniel's boots crunched on the Harrington Estates gravel drive at 4:30 each afternoon, precise as clockwork. Maya waited on the porch steps, sketchbook balanced on her knees, watching the curve where the driveway disappeared into manicured hedges. The first day, she stood when she heard him coming. Small fingers reached for his calloused hand before he'd fully stopped walking. No hesitation. "Hey there, little artist." She led him straight to the garden, to the stone bench beneath the willow where she'd already arranged pencils in a neat row. They sketched the koi pond first. Daniel drew the fish. Maya added ripples. When a cardinal landed on the fountain's edge, she pointed. "Bird." The word came clearer than before. Daniel kept drawing, kept his reaction minimal. "Redbird," he agreed quietly. "Red." She tested the word, then added it to her sketch, a splash of colored pencil against gray graphite. Tuesday brought rain. They sat in the covered gazebo instead, watching drops patter against the pond's surface. Maya drew the weather, while Daniel drew her drawing, creating an endless loop of observation. She caught on, smiled, and whispered, "Again." By Wednesday, she'd added tree and sun to her vocabulary. Thursday brought song when a mockingbird performed its evening repertoire. Each word emerged like she was remembering a language she'd once known, pulling syllables from deep storage. Elaine observed from various windows, pretending to work on her laptop. She watched her daughter's shoulders lose their perpetual hunch, watched her walk rather than shuffle, watched her exist in space instead of trying to disappear from it. Friday afternoon, Daniel arrived with a small bag of bird seed. "Thought we could make some friends." They sat on the lawn, Maya cross-legged in her school uniform, Daniel beside her with seeds scattered between them. Sparrows came first, bold and common, then finches. A blue jay swooped down, scattering the smaller birds, and Maya laughed. Actually laughed. The sound hit Elaine like a physical force. She'd been watching from the terrace, coffee growing cold in her hands. Her daughter's laughter, rusty from disuse but unmistakably real. Sunday arrived warm and clear. Daniel brought Ethan, who bounded from their old truck carrying his guitar case and a grocery bag. "I brought sandwiches, PB and J. That okay?" Elaine, who'd had the chef prepare elaborate hors d'oeuvres, watched them spread a faded quilt on the lawn. Ethan flopped down immediately, pulling his guitar out. "Maya, want to learn C major?" She sat beside him, careful but curious. Ethan positioned her small fingers on the frets, showed her how to press down. "Now strum." The sound was barely a chord, more like a dying cat. Maya's face fell. "Hey, that's exactly how mine sounded first time." "Try again." She did, still awful. "Better. Again." "Again," Maya whispered. Ethan played the chord himself, clean and bright. "See? Same fingers, just needs practice." They spent an hour like that, Ethan playing simple melodies, Maya attempting chords, Daniel sketching them both. The sandwiches appeared eventually, humble beside the untouched chef's tray. "These are good," Maya whispered to Ethan. "Dad makes them. Says the secret is using crunchy peanut butter." "Secret," Maya repeated, like she was storing the word for later. Elaine joined them as shadows grew long. She sat on the quilt's edge, unsure of her place in this simple tableau. "Mom played guitar too," Ethan told Maya. "She taught me Blackbird when I was 7. "Play," Maya requested. Ethan's fingers found the melody. It was sweet, melancholy, perfect for the dying light. Maya hummed along, not the whole song, just fragments where the melody felt safe. Daniel caught Elaine's eye. Neither spoke, but understanding passed between them. This was what healing looked like. Not dramatic breakthroughs, but tiny accumulations. Words like breadcrumbs, leading back to the world. That night, Elaine tucked Maya into bed herself, something she'd delegated to the nanny for months. "Good day?" Maya nodded against her pillow. Ethan's nice. He is. Daniel, too. Yes. Elaine smoothed the comforter, started to leave. Then she heard it. Maya whispering to herself, or maybe to the darkness. Blue. Bird. Song. Again. Secret. Tree. Each word deliberate, like she was afraid she'd forget them by morning. Elaine made it to her own bedroom before the tears came. 3 years of silence breaking apart in whispered inventory. Her daughter collecting words like treasures, hoarding them against future loss. She cried for the father Maya had lost, for the years of frozen grief, for the child who'd retreated so far into herself that it took a security guard's patience to call her back. But mostly she cried from hope. Raw, terrifying hope that maybe, possibly, her daughter was finding her way home. The moon painted silver squares across her bedroom floor. Somewhere down the hall, Maya whispered her words again, a lullaby of returning language. Monday would bring new challenges. Harrison Pike's threat still lurked. The board would have questions. The world would intrude. But tonight, her daughter had laughed, had held a guitar, had whispered secrets about peanut butter. Tonight, that was enough. Elaine fell asleep listening for Maya's voice, that small, brave sound pushing back against years of silence. The farmers' market sprawled across Millbrook's town square. 40 minutes from the city's glass towers. Elaine had suggested it Thursday night, surprising herself with the words, "Maybe we could go somewhere different this weekend?" Now she walked behind Daniel and Ethan, watching Maya between them. Her daughter's hand loosely held Daniel's, while her other clutched a small paper bag of apples they'd bought from the first stall. "Honey crisps," the farmer had said, "sweet as candy." Maya had whispered candy back, testing the word. The market teemed with families in worn jeans and comfortable shoes. No one recognized Elaine here. No one cared that her handbag cost more than most cars. She was just another mother trailing after her family. Her family? The thought jarred her. Balloon animals! Ethan pointed to a clown making creations from long rubber tubes. "Maya, want one?" She nodded, tugging Daniel forward. The clown fashioned a dog, lopsided but charming. Daniel pulled out his wallet. "What color is he?" Daniel asked Maya. She studied the balloon. Red, clear as day. Red. Elaine's breath caught, not whispered, spoken. They wandered deeper into the market. Maya stopped at everything, jars of honey, handmade soaps, a pen of baby goats. At the soap stall she sniffed each bar, whispering their scents. Flower, lemon, mint. The vendor, an elderly woman with flour-dusted hands, beamed. "She's precious." "How old?" 10, Elaine answered. "Ah, lovely age, still thinks the world's magic." The woman studied their group. "You've got a beautiful family." Elaine's spine went rigid. Daniel just smiled. "Thank you, ma'am." They moved on before Elaine could correct the mistake. But was it a mistake? They looked like any other family here, father in faded jeans, mother overdressed but trying, teenage son, young daughter, clutching her balloon dog. At the food trucks they ordered from 3 different vendors, tacos for Ethan, grilled cheese for Maya, barbecue for Daniel. Elaine picked at a salad, too aware of how natural this felt. "Mom never took me to the farmer's market," she found herself saying. Daniel looked up from his pulled pork. "No? We had staff for shopping. I didn't see a grocery store until college. Must have been a shock. I stood in the cereal aisle for 20 minutes. Couldn't believe there were so many kinds." Ethan laughed. "Dad only buys store brand, says cornflakes are cornflakes." "They are," Daniel insisted. "They're not." Ethan turned to Maya. "Store brand tastes like cardboard, right?" Maya considered this seriously. "Cardboard," she agreed, though Elaine doubted her daughter had ever tasted store-brand cereal. After lunch they found the pond. Ducks paddled over immediately, expecting handouts. Daniel produced crackers from his pocket. Of course, he'd come prepared. Maya and Ethan crouched at the water's edge, tossing crumbs. The ducks squabbled, making Maya giggle. Ethan named them. Fred, George, Princess Quackington. Princess Quackington. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Maya picked that one. Elaine and Daniel sat on a bench watching. The afternoon sun painted everything golden. The pond, the children, this impossible moment. I don't remember the last time I felt like this, Elaine admitted. Like what? She searched for words. Part of something. Normal. Daniel was quiet. Then, normal doesn't mean perfect. It just means shared. Shared? Shared Saturday. Shared sandwiches. Shared worry when kids get too close to the water. He nodded at Ethan, who'd grabbed Maya's shirt to keep her from leaning too far. That's all normal is. People sharing the same space, same moment. We're very different people. So? Ethan likes fancy cereal. I like store brand. We still share breakfast. A duck waddled onto shore, chasing Maya backward. She shrieked, delighted, not scared, and bumped into Ethan, who steadied her. Brave duck, she announced. Very brave, Ethan agreed. We should call him Sir Waddles. Elaine wanted to bottle this moment. Her daughter naming ducks, speaking without fear, being a child. Thank you, she told Daniel. For what? Sharing your normal with us. The drive home was quiet, Maya asleep against Ethan's shoulder in the back seat. Her balloon dog bobbed with each turn, tied carefully to her wrist. Daniel pulled up to the mansion's gate. The contrast hit immediately. Manicured hedges, security cameras, the weight of curated perfection. Same time next Sunday? Ethan asked hopefully. We'll see, Elaine said, but she was already planning it. Inside, Maya drifted upstairs, still clutching her apples and balloon. Elaine's phone rang before she could follow. Harrison Pike's name on the screen. Elaine, enjoying your weekends? Her blood chilled. Harrison. Interesting company you're keeping. The board's concerned. About what? Your judgment. A security guard, really? What kind of message does that send? We've invested millions in your company. Your personal life reflects on all of us. His tone sharpened. Some are questioning your fitness to lead. My daughter's health is not, everything's the board's business, Elaine. Everything. We'll discuss this Monday. The line went dead. Elaine stood in her marble foyer, phone trembling in her hand. Upstairs, she could hear Maya talking to her balloon dog, practicing words. Red, brave, shared. The happiness of the day curdled into dread. The board would make this ugly. They'd twist Daniel's kindness into something sordid, Maya's progress into weakness. But Maya had said red today, clear and confident. She'd named a duck Princess Quackington. She'd fallen asleep safe against Ethan's shoulder. Elaine looked at her phone, then at the stairs where her daughter's voice drifted down. The board could threaten all they wanted. Her daughter was finding her way back to the world. That was worth any fight coming. The board meeting on Monday left bruises Elaine couldn't see. Harrison Pike's words echoed through every subsequent conversation, every sideways glance from colleagues. By Tuesday, she'd made her decision. Maya, Mr. Brooks needs to focus on his regular work this week. Maya's face crumpled. She clutched her sketchbook tighter, waiting by the window that overlooked the driveway. Wednesday came. No Daniel. Maya moved to the fountain in the lobby of Elaine's office building after school, sitting exactly where she'd been that first night. She opened her sketchbook, drew a single blue line, then closed it. Sweetie, let's go home. Maya didn't move. Maya, please. Nothing. Thursday was worse. Maya wouldn't eat breakfast. She sat at the fountain from the moment they arrived until security gently suggested they leave at closing. Not one word, not even to name colors anymore. Elaine found herself at her bathroom mirror that night, seeing her mother's face staring back, the same rigid jawline that prioritized reputation over happiness, the same frightened eyes that chose safety over connection. Her phone buzzed. A photo from Daniel, not of himself, but of a sketch Ethan had drawn. A girl with dark hair feeding ducks, smiling. Ethan misses his sketch buddy, the message read. Nothing more. Friday morning, Maya wouldn't get out of bed. He's coming today, Elaine promised, her resolve crumbling entirely. I'll call him right now. Maya's eyes flickered with hope. Daniel answered on the first ring. How is she? She needs you. She needs you to come back. I never left. Just gave you space to decide what matters most. He arrived that afternoon, boots crunching on gravel. Maya flew off the porch, grabbed his hand, and pulled him straight to the garden. She pointed at every bird, every flower, demanding names for things she already knew, just to hear his voice confirm the world still existed. There's something Saturday, Daniel said carefully to Elaine. Ethan's playing at a neighborhood thing. Just a few songs at the community center. Maya might like it. Elaine's stomach knotted. Public. Visible. Everything Harrison Pike would use against her. Please, Mom? The words were whispered, but they were words. Maya's first request in days. Saturday arrived gray and drizzling. The community center was 40 minutes from the mansion, a converted church basement that smelled of coffee and old carpet. Parents clustered on mismatched chairs, while children of various ages waited their turns at the donated piano. Maya pressed against Daniel's side, overwhelmed by the crowd. Elaine sat stiffly, overdressed in her designer blazer among parents in jeans and sweaters. Next up, Ethan Brooks, the volunteer announced. Ethan climbed onto the small stage, guitar in hand. He found Maya in the crowd, winked, then began strumming. The melody was simple, something about finding your way home. Maya's hand found Daniel's. She leaned forward slightly. Ethan's voice was clear, untrained but honest. Other kids whispered and fidgeted, but Maya stayed frozen, absorbing every note. Then, so soft only Daniel heard it at first, she whispered along, "Finding my way home." Daniel crouched beside her chair. "That's beautiful, Maya. Ethan would love to hear you." She shook her head, frightened. "Just hum, like with the ducks." The next verse began. Maya hummed, barely audible, a ghost of melody, but there. The mother in front of them turned, surprised. Then another parent, not judging, wondering. Ethan caught the sound from the stage, his smile breaking wide. He played the chorus again, just for her. Maya hummed louder. When the song ended, the basement erupted in standard, polite applause. But Ethan's eyes were only on Maya, who was still humming the last note. "My sister's got a good voice," he announced to the room. Several parents smiled knowingly. Of course, the Brooks boy would call this silent girl his sister. That was just like him. Elaine couldn't stop tears from sliding down her cheeks. Back at the mansion that evening, Elaine insisted they stay for dinner. Real dinner, not the formal affairs she usually orchestrated. They ate in the kitchen. Pasta Daniel helped cook, while Ethan taught Maya to fold napkins into swans. "These look more like dying pigeons," Ethan admitted, examining his creation. "Sad birds," Maya agreed solemnly. Over chocolate cake, store-bought Daniel's suggestion, they talked about everything and nothing. School gossip from Ethan, a funny customer at the market from Daniel. Maya listened, occasionally adding single words that felt like whole paragraphs. Then, as Ethan pushed back his empty plate, Maya spoke. "Play it again, Ethan." The kitchen went still. 6 words, a complete sentence, a direct request. Ethan recovered first. "Yeah? The same song?" Maya nodded. He retrieved his guitar from the hallway, settled back in his chair and played. Right there in the kitchen, chocolate crumbs on the counter, dishes unwashed, nothing formal or proper about it. Maya hummed along, stronger this time. When it ended, she looked at Daniel. "Home song," she said. "It is," he agreed. "Ethan wrote it himself." "For Maya?" she asked. Ethan flushed. "Maybe." "Yeah." Elaine watched her daughter process this, that someone had created something just for her. Not because they were paid to, not because they had to, but because she mattered enough to inspire music. Later, as Daniel helped clear plates, he moved naturally around her kitchen, knowing where things belonged after just one evening. Ethan and Maya had relocated to the living room, where he was teaching her basic chords on his guitar. "Thank you for coming back," Elaine said quietly. "Never really left. The board? The board doesn't live your life. You do." Through the doorway, they watched Maya's fingers fumble on the strings, Ethan patiently repositioning them. "Finding my way home," Maya sang whispered. Elaine's world shifted, tectonic plates of propriety grinding against something far more powerful, the sound of her daughter singing herself back to life. The Sterling Club's private dining room gleamed with crystal and judgment. Elaine picked at her salmon, surrounded by board members and rivals, all discussing quarterly projections while dissecting each other's lives with surgical precision. "Interesting approach to child psychology, Elaine." Victor Hanley's voice cut through the murmur. He sat 3 seats down, his smile sharp as broken glass. "Hiring the help to fix what money couldn't." Conversation stuttered to a halt. "Daniel Brooks has been wonderful with Maya," Elaine replied evenly. "Brooks? That's the security guard, isn't it?" Victor swirled his wine. "Did you run a background check?" "I did." He produced his phone with theatrical timing. "Bankruptcy filing 3 years ago. Couldn't even keep his own house after his wife died. Medical debt, poor investments. The man couldn't manage a savings account, yet you trust him with your daughter." Someone gasped. Another board member leaned forward, hungry for scandal. "He's playing father figure to the Harrington heiress while he can't even afford to be one to his own son." Victor's eyes glittered. "What happens when he realizes how much Maya's trust fund is worth? When he starts asking for small favors? Daniel would never." "You've known him, what, 3 weeks? And already he's in your home, at your table, his son calling Maya sister?" Victor laughed. "Either you're being played, or you're more desperate than we thought." Elaine's hand trembled around her water glass. Every face at the table watched, waiting to see if she'd crumble or fight. But all she could think about was Maya humming in the kitchen, finally alive again. She stood. "Excuse me." Their whispers followed her to the parking garage. That evening, Elaine waited in her study. When Daniel arrived for his usual visit with Maya, she intercepted him. "We need to talk." He paused in the doorway, reading her rigid posture. "Maya okay?" "Sit." He lowered himself into the leather chair across from her desk. Between them lay a printed bankruptcy filing, Daniel Allen Brooks clearly visible at the top. "Victor Hanley shared this at lunch today, in front of 20 board members." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he didn't flinch. "Want to know what happened?" "I want to know if you're using my daughter." The words hung like ice between them. Daniel studied his worn hands. "Sarah, my wife, got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer 5 years ago. Insurance covered some, but experimental treatments weren't included. I mortgaged everything, sold the car, cashed out my pension, borrowed from anyone who'd listen." His voice stayed steady, matter of fact. "She died anyway. Left me with $200,000 in medical debt and a boy who'd just watched his mother disappear pound by pound." Elaine's throat constricted. "Made stupid choices after that. Tried day trading with borrowed money, thinking I could dig us out faster. Lost it all. Filed for bankruptcy 3 years ago." He met her eyes directly. "Took 2 security jobs. Nights at the office building, events on weekends. Every penny goes to Ethan's future and keeping our apartment. Why didn't you tell me? You didn't hire me for my financial advice. You needed someone to sit with Maya. But the rumors are probably true. I am a broke single father who couldn't save his wife or his house. If that makes me unreliable, then don't let me near Maya." He stood. "But I've never lied to you. Never asked for anything except what's best for her." Elaine opened her mouth, closed it. Her carefully prepared accusations crumbled against his brutal honesty. The study door creaked. Maya stood in her nightgown, clutching paper. "Maya, sweetheart, go back." But Maya walked past her mother to Daniel. She pressed the paper into his calloused hand. A drawing. 3 stick figures under a wonky tree. The tall one had Daniel's dark hair, the medium one Elaine's neat bun, the small one Maya's curls. "Home," Maya whispered. The word detonated in the silence. Daniel knelt to Maya's level. "That's a beautiful picture." "You're sad," Maya observed, touching his cheek. "Little bit." "Mom's sad, too." They both looked at Elaine, who stood frozen behind her massive desk, tears threatening her composure. "Fix it," Maya commanded, the longest phrase she'd spoken. Then she padded back out, leaving her drawing in Daniel's hand. Elaine sank into her chair. The bankruptcy papers mocked her from the desk, all those numbers that were supposed to matter. But all she could see was Maya's drawing, 3 figures, together. "I'm scared," she admitted, the words scraping out. "Not of you, of them, of losing everything I've built. Your reputation, my armor. Without it, I'm just—" She gestured helplessly. "A mother who loves her daughter?" The simplicity of it broke something in her chest. "Victor will destroy me if I keep you around." "Probably. He'll make sure everyone knows I'm harboring some broke janitor who makes Maya feel safe enough to speak." She stared at the drawing in his hands. Home. When had her mansion ever been that? "I need time to think." Daniel stood, leaving the drawing on her desk. "Maya needs consistency. Don't punish her for my mistakes." After he left, Elaine sat alone, Maya's drawing blurring through tears. She finally stopped fighting. The spring program rehearsal echoed through Jefferson Elementary's auditorium. Maya sat rigid on the wooden bench, fingers white around her sketchbook, while children practiced their parts on stage. "Just watching today," Mrs. Peterson assured Elaine. "No pressure." But Maya's eyes tracked every movement, every note from the piano. When a girl forgot her lines and ran off crying, Maya flinched. "We should go," Elaine started, but Daniel settled beside Maya on the bench, pulling out his pencil and napkin. He began sketching, a bird on a branch singing to the sun. Maya's shoulders loosened slightly. Ethan appeared with his guitar, having gotten permission to help with accompaniment. "Hey, Maya Bird, want to hear something?" He strummed softly, barely audible under the rehearsal chaos. A simple melody, sweet and haunting. Maya leaned forward. "My mom used to sing this," Ethan said, fingers finding familiar chords, "when I couldn't sleep." Daniel's hand stilled on his sketch. He hadn't heard that lullaby since Sarah's last days. "Sleep now, little sparrow, the day is done," Ethan hummed. "Tomorrow brings the morning sun." Maya's lips moved silently, following the words. The next rehearsal, Maya chose to sit closer to the stage. Daniel stayed beside her, sketching, while Ethan played. Other kids stared at the silent girl with her sketchbook, but Maya focused on Ethan's guitar. "Want to try humming it?" Ethan asked casually, like it didn't matter either way. Maya shook her head. Then, so quiet only Daniel caught it, she hummed 3 notes. By the third rehearsal, Mrs. Peterson approached carefully. "Maya, would you like to stand with the other children? You don't have to sing." Maya looked at Daniel. He smiled, kept sketching. "I'll be right here." She stood slowly, joined the line of second graders. When they began "You Are My Sunshine," Maya mouthed the words. When they switched to Rainbow Connection, her voice emerged, a whisper, barely there, but real. Ethan played his lullaby during breaks, and Maya grew braver, first humming openly, then whispering the words Daniel remembered, Sarah singing to baby Ethan through thin hospital walls. "Sleep now, little sparrow," Maya whispered to her sketchbook. "The day is done." The night of the spring program arrived crisp and bright. The auditorium filled with parents armed with cameras and flowers. Maya wore a yellow dress Elaine had bought specially, her hair in careful braids. "You don't have to sing," Elaine reminded her backstage, kneeling despite her designer suit. "Just being here is enough." Maya touched her mother's cheek. "Scared." "Me too, sweetheart." Daniel appeared with Ethan, both in their best clothes, which meant Daniel's only jacket and Ethan's single tie. "We'll be right there," Daniel promised Maya. "Front row." The children filed onto risers. Maya stood in the second row, hands clasped, searching until she found Daniel's steady gaze. He smiled, pulled out a napkin, and started sketching, even in the dim audience light. The program began with kindergarteners singing off-key about butterflies. First graders performed a poem about seasons. Then came Maya's class. Rainbow Connection went smoothly, Maya mouthing along. But then Mrs. Peterson announced, "We have a special addition tonight." Maya Harrington and Ethan Brooks will perform Little Sparrow's Lullaby. Elaine's breath caught. This wasn't planned. Ethan walked on stage with his guitar, casual as breathing. Maya remained frozen on the riser. "It's okay," Mrs. Peterson whispered, "only if you want to." Maya looked at Daniel. He held up his napkin, a small sparrow, wings spread, singing to the stars. She stepped forward. The microphone loomed huge. Ethan strummed the opening chords, the melody filling the hushed auditorium. Maya gripped the mic stand. Nothing came. Ethan played the intro again, patient. In the front row, Daniel began humming softly, just loud enough for Maya to hear. The same tune he'd heard Sarah hum while the cancer ate her alive, but couldn't touch her love. Maya's voice emerged, fragile as spun glass. "Sleep now, little sparrow, the day is done." Gasps rippled through the audience. Elaine's hand flew to her mouth. "Tomorrow brings the morning sun." 2 lines. That's all Maya managed before stepping back, but the auditorium erupted. Parents who'd whispered about the silent Harrington girl leaped to their feet. Maya searched for Daniel through the chaos, found him standing, tears streaming down his weathered face, applauding like she'd just sung Carnegie Hall. Backstage, Elaine crushed Maya in a hug, mascara running, not caring who saw. "You did it. Oh, sweetheart, you did it." That evening, the Harrington dining room glowed with candles and laughter. Ethan played requests while Maya whispered full sentences about school, about drawing, about the bird nest she'd found with Daniel. "Ethan taught me the notes," she told the table, words flowing easier with each minute. "But Daniel showed me it was safe." On the terrace later, while the kids shared ice cream inside, Elaine stood beside Daniel under the stars. 3 months ago, I thought I'd never hear her voice again. She just needed to know someone would hear her when she was ready. Elaine turned to him, studying his profile in the moonlight. "How did you know?" "I didn't. Just knew what it felt like when everyone's waiting for you to be okay and you can't remember how." She almost reached for his hand, almost. Her phone buzzed. A message from the board president. "Emergency meeting requested. Daniel Brooks' situation has become untenable. Your leadership is now in question. Choose wisely." The warm night turned cold. Behind them, Maya laughed at something Ethan said. The sound Elaine had prayed 3 years to hear. Daniel noticed her shift. "Everything all right?" She forced a smile, the message burning in her hand. Fine. Just fine. But nothing was fine. Nothing at all. Morning light streamed through the mansion's study windows, but Elaine felt only darkness pressing in. She'd called Daniel early before Maya woke. He stood across from her mahogany desk in his security uniform, ready for his shift at the hotel. "Thank you for coming." Her hands trembled as she arranged papers she didn't need to arrange. Sounded important. She forced herself to meet his eyes, kind eyes that had coaxed words from her silent daughter. "The board held an emergency meeting last night." After I got home, each word felt like swallowing glass. "They've made their position clear. If you continue spending time with Maya, they'll call a vote of no confidence. I could lose my position." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "It's not about the money. The words tumbled faster. But if I lose my position, I lose my shares. Maya's trust fund, her future, everything I've built to protect her. You want me to stop coming? Not a question. His voice stayed level, but something shifted in his shoulders, the same way Maya curled inward when overwhelmed. They're calling it inappropriate, a security guard. They've dug into your bankruptcy, your wife's medical bills. Victor Hanley is spreading rumors that you're... She couldn't finish. That I'm what? Using Maya? Using you? I don't believe it. God, Daniel, you know I don't. But they have power, real power. They could destroy your reputation, make it impossible for you to find work anywhere in the city. Daniel stepped closer to the desk. Is that a threat? No. The word cracked. It's what they're threatening. I'm trying to protect you, too. Silence stretched between them. Through the window, a cardinal landed on the garden fountain where Daniel had taught Maya to whistle just yesterday. You're right, he said finally. I won't be the reason Maya loses her future. She deserves every opportunity, every door that money can open. Daniel, I've been poor, Mrs. Harrington. I know what doors stay closed. If my being here closes even one for her, he straightened his uniform. Tell her I had to go away for work. Make it clean. I could pay you, set something up so you and Ethan... His look stopped her cold. Don't. Footsteps padded down the hall. Maya appeared in the doorway, sketchbook clutched to her chest, still in her pajamas with dancing bears. Daniel? Her voice, so newly found, wavered. Why are you here early? Elaine's throat closed. She turned to the window, unable to watch. Daniel knelt to Maya's level. Hey there, little sparrow. Are we drawing today? I practiced shading like you showed me. His hand steadied on his knees. Not today. I have to go away for a while. The sketchbook lowered. How long? I don't know yet. But Ethan's teaching me a new song. You have to hear it. Ethan can still... He stopped. They both knew Ethan couldn't come without him. You'll learn it perfect. I know you will. Maya stepped closer, her small hand reaching for his sleeve. Did I do something wrong? No. The word came fierce. Never think that. You're the bravest girl I know. Then why? Daniel glanced at Elaine's rigid back, then pulled a folded napkin from his pocket. His final doodle, a sparrow soaring above clouds singing to the sun. Sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices. But you keep singing, okay? Keep drawing. Keep using that beautiful voice. Maya's lips trembled. She opened her mouth, but no sound emerged. The words she'd fought so hard to reclaim dissolved like morning frost. Daniel stood, his hand brushing her hair once. Then he walked past her, through the hall, out the front door. The heavy wood closed with devastating finality. The sketchbook hit the floor, pages scattered. Dozens of drawings she'd made with Daniel. Birds and trees and 3 figures holding hands under stars. Elaine turned from the window. Maya, sweetheart, But Maya was already running, bare feet slapping marble, up the stairs, down the hall. A door slammed. Elaine stood alone among the scattered drawings. In one, Maya had drawn herself speaking, musical notes floating from her mouth toward a figure that was clearly Daniel. The caption, in shaky letters, "Found my voice." That evening, Elaine knocked softly on Maya's door. Dinner's ready? Nothing. She entered to find Maya curled on her bed, facing the wall, Daniel's sparrow napkin clutched in one fist. Her sketchbook lay closed on the floor where Elaine had placed it earlier. Please eat something. Elaine set a tray on the nightstand. Just a few bites. Maya didn't move, didn't speak. He had to leave for work, sweetheart. Important work. The lie tasted like acid. Still nothing. Elaine sat on the bed's edge, hand hovering over her daughter's shoulder, afraid to touch and make it worse. You can still sing, still draw. Everything he taught you. Maya pulled the blanket over her head. 3 years of silence, 3 months of progress, 3 minutes to destroy it all. Elaine left the untouched tray and closed the door softly. In the hallway, she pressed her back to the wall and slid to the floor, designer suit crumpling. Through the door she heard nothing. No crying, no movement, just silence. Again. The fountain's water trickled endlessly. Maya sat on its edge, feet dangling, sketchbook closed beside her. Third day, same spot, same silence. "Maya, your math tutor is here," the housekeeper called from the terrace. Nothing, not even a glance. Mrs. Peterson, the tutor, tried for 20 minutes. Gentle coaxing, colorful manipulatives, even offering to skip math and just talk. Maya stared at the water, fingers tracing invisible patterns on stone. Elaine watched from her study window. The breakfast tray outside Maya's door remained untouched. Again. The child ate only when physically guided to the table, mechanically chewing whatever was placed before her. 3 years of silence before Daniel, 3 months of voice with him, 3 days since he'd left, and the regression was complete. Worse even. Before, Maya had at least engaged through drawings. Now, nothing. On the 4th morning, Elaine found herself driving through neighborhoods she'd never visited. Narrow streets, apartments with laundry hanging from balconies, children playing in cramped lots. Daniel's building sat wedged between a dry cleaner and a bodega. 3rd floor, apartment 3B. According to the personnel file she'd pulled, she climbed stairs that creaked under her heels. The hallway smelled of curry and pine cleaner. At 3B, guitar music drifted through the door, halting, broken notes, someone restringing. Her knock felt too loud. The music stopped. Footsteps. The door opened to Daniel in a worn t-shirt and jeans, holding Ethan's guitar, fresh strings coiled at the headstock. "Mrs. Harrington, may I come in?" He stepped aside. The apartment was small but spotless. Photographs covered one wall, a woman with kind eyes, Daniel in uniform, Ethan through the years. The couch had a patched armrest. Everything spoke of careful maintenance, making do, getting by. "Coffee?" His voice stayed neutral. "No, thank you." She stood awkwardly in the living room while he set the guitar on a stand. Through an open door she glimpsed Ethan's room, band posters, school books, a keyboard squeezed against the wall. "How's Maya?" The question broke something in her chest. "She hasn't spoken since you left." "Won't eat unless forced. Won't draw. Just sits by the fountain where you used to sketch together." His jaw tightened. "She needs you," her voice cracked. "More than she needs my reputation." Daniel moved to the window, looking out at fire escapes and brick. "It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple." "No, it's not." He turned. "Your board threatened you. That means they'll threaten her too, her future, her inheritance, her place in your world." "I don't care about—" "You should care." "I've been poor, Mrs. Harrington. I've watched doors close, opportunities vanish. I won't be the reason Maya loses her chance at everything. What good are opportunities if she won't speak to take them?" Silence stretched between them. The guitar strings caught afternoon light. "I'm taking a job in Burlington," he said finally. "Security supervisor at a hospital. Better pay. Good schools for Ethan. Burlington. 3 hours away. When? 2 weeks." She sank onto the patched couch. "You're leaving. It's best for everyone." "Not for Maya. Maya will heal. With the right therapists, time." "We tried therapists for 3 years. You sat with her once and she spoke. That was—" "What? Luck? Coincidence?" She stood, anger flashing. "You gave her back her voice. You made her feel safe enough to use it. And my presence puts her future at risk. Her future is silence without you." The words echoed in the small room. Somewhere below, a baby cried. A door slammed. Daniel rubbed his face. "What do you want from me?" "I don't know." The admission cost her. "I just know my daughter is disappearing again and you're packing to leave." "Because staying hurts her more in the long run?" Says who? Victor Hanley, the board? Since when do they decide what's best for my child? Since they control your company, your wealth, everything you've built. None of it matters if Maya... She stopped, composing herself. I should go. At the door she turned. That guitar. You're fixing it for Ethan? Restringing. He wants to play that song Maya liked. Says maybe if he records it, you could play it for her. Her throat closed. Even leaving, they were thinking of her daughter. She drove home through streets that blurred. In the rearview mirror, Daniel's building shrank, taking with it Maya's best chance at healing. That evening, Elaine found Maya's door ajar. Inside, Maya sat, surrounded by art supplies, working intently. Hope flared until Elaine saw what she was drawing. 3 figures holding hands. Daniel's kind face, Ethan's messy hair, Maya between them smiling. Underneath, in shaky letters that must have taken enormous effort, Daddy. Maya stood, picked up the drawing, and walked past Elaine without acknowledgement. She taped it to Elaine's office door with precise care, then returned to her room. Elaine stared at the drawing. Not Daniel, not friend. Daddy. Her knees gave. She slid down the office door, sobbing into her hands. The sobs came from somewhere deep, 3 years deep, where she'd buried her own grief to be strong. Maya needed Daniel, not as a tutor or therapist or companion, as a father, and Elaine had sent him away to protect a reputation that meant nothing if her daughter remained lost in silence. She pulled out her phone, then set it down. Calling wouldn't fix this. The board's threats remained real. Daniel's fears were valid. But that drawing, Daddy, changed everything. She had to choose. The company her father built, the reputation she'd cultivated, the power she'd accumulated, or the chance for Maya to have what she really needed. The choice, when framed that way, wasn't difficult at all. The boardroom smelled of leather and old money. 12 faces turned toward Elaine as she entered, their expressions ranging from disappointed to hostile. Victor Hanley stood at the presentation screen, a satisfied smile playing at his lips. Ah, Elaine, we were just discussing your recent decisions. The screen displayed a gossip column headline, Harrington heiress treated by security guard. Below it another, Millionaire's desperate move, janitor as therapist. These appeared yesterday, Victor said, clicking through more articles. Our stock dropped 3 points. 3 points that recovered by closing, Elaine countered. This time, Margaret Chen, the longest-serving board member, folded her hands. But what about next time? When shareholders learn you've entrusted your daughter to a man who couldn't manage his own finances, a man who declared bankruptcy after his wife's cancer treatment, Elaine said. The reason doesn't matter, Victor interjected. The optics do. We've built this company on excellence, on standards. What message does it send when our CEO can't find proper care for her own child? The murmurs started then, sideways glances, disappointed headshakes. He's not even a licensed therapist, someone added. A security guard, another voice said, like the words tasted bitter. Elaine stood slowly. The room quieted. You're right. He's not a therapist. He's not wealthy. He's not from our world. She looked at each face around the table. My daughter hasn't spoken in 3 years. The words hung heavy. 3 years. I hired the best specialists in the country. The child psychiatrist who wrote the textbook on selective mutism. The therapy program that costs more than most people's annual salary. None of them, not one, could reach her. Elaine, Margaret started. Then, one evening, during our gala, a security guard noticed her sitting alone. He didn't call her mother, didn't alert management. He sat down on the floor beside her and drew silly pictures on a napkin. Victor scoffed. Exactly my point. Unprofessional. She spoke. Silence. After 3 years of silence, my daughter looked at his blue pen and whispered, blue. One word, but it was everything. And coincidence, Victor said. Was it coincidence when she whispered "bird" in our garden? When she said "play it again" to his son? When she actually sang, at her school recital? Her voice grew stronger. You talk about standards, about excellence. What standard says a man's worth is measured by his bank account? What excellence ignores the fact that he succeeded where every expert failed? Emotional decisions destroy companies, Victor said coldly. No, heartless ones do, Elaine faced him directly. My daughter calls him Daddy. She draws pictures of them as a family. For the first time since her father died, she believes she might be safe enough to speak again. At what cost to your reputation? Margaret asked. I don't care about my reputation. Gasps rippled through the room. I care that my daughter eats dinner again. I care that she laughs. I care that she has a chance at a normal life. Her voice trembled, but held. That man, the one you call unworthy, gave her that chance. He sat with her when no one else would. He showed up day after day, asking nothing in return. He's using you? Victor sneered. Playing the long game for money. He's moving to Burlington to protect us from exactly this conversation. That stopped them short. He's leaving? Margaret asked. To spare my reputation. To protect Maya from your judgment. He's walking away from a child who needs him because he believes your opinion matters more than her voice. She moved toward the door. Where are you going? Victor demanded. To choose my daughter. This will cost you everything. Your position, your father's legacy. My father would be ashamed. She turned at the door. Not of my choice. Of his board, putting status above a child's suffering. If you walk out, then vote me out. Sell my shares, destroy my reputation. She gripped the handle. I choose my daughter. I choose love over status. I choose the man who gave her back her voice over the people who would silence it again for the sake of appearances. She walked out to shocked silence. Her heels clicked on marble, each step lighter than the last. Her phone buzzed. Probably Margaret trying to negotiate. She ignored it. At the elevator, her hands shook as she pressed the button. The weight of what she'd done began settling. 30 years building her career. Gone. The doors opened. Daniel stood inside. Her heart stopped. What are you? Ethan called you 12 times. When you didn't answer, he panicked. Thought something happened. How did you get past security? A ghost of a smile. I know a guy. The doors closed, sealing them in together. I just quit or got fired, not sure which yet. I know? You know? Ethan hacked the meeting's audio feed. He what? Kid's too smart for his own good. Daniel studied her face. You okay? I'm unemployed. Join the club. Despite everything, she laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Come home, she whispered. She needs you. He was quiet so long she thought he'd refuse. Burlington has good schools, low crime rate. Daniel, but it doesn't have Maya. The elevator opened to the lobby. He didn't move. We both need you, she said. Not just Maya. Me, too. Something shifted in his face. Elaine? I know it's complicated. I know there are 1,000 reasons why it shouldn't work, but my daughter calls you Daddy, and when you're gone, she disappears, and I can't... Her voice broke. I can't lose her again. He stepped out of the elevator, and for a moment she thought he was leaving. Then he turned, offering his hand. Let's go home. She took it. The gravel crunched beneath Daniel's boots, each step echoing in the evening quiet. Maya sat cross-legged in the garden, exactly where Elaine said she'd be. Her sketchbook lay open on her lap, pencil moving in slow, deliberate strokes. She didn't look up, not at first. Daniel stopped 10 feet away, unsure. The last time he'd walked this path, he'd been leaving. Maya had watched from her bedroom window, palm pressed against the glass. Now she kept drawing. He moved closer, her shoulders tensed, pencil stilling. Hey, little artist. Her head lifted slowly. Those wide brown eyes, her father's eyes, Elaine always said, locked onto his face, searching, measuring, deciding if he was real or another disappointment. Daniel crouched in the grass, making himself smaller, less likely to spook her back into silence. Maya's fingers tightened on her sketchbook. She flipped to a fresh page, holding it toward him. 3 figures stood beneath a blue sky. A tall man with broad shoulders, a woman with long dark hair, a small girl between them holding both their hands. Above them she'd written something in careful, shaky letters. My family. Daniel's throat closed. Maya set down the sketchbook, rose to her knees, crawled the distance between them. Daddy Daniel. Clear as morning, strong as truth. From the terrace, Elaine's gasp cut through the twilight. Daniel glanced up to see her hand pressed to her mouth, tears tracking down her cheeks. Maya's small arms wrapped around his neck. Her body trembled, not with fear, but with release. 3 years of silence breaking like a dam. Don't go, she whispered into his shoulder. Please don't go again. Never. He pulled her close, her tears soaking his shirt. I'm never leaving you again. Footsteps on gravel. Ethan appeared, guitar case slung over his shoulder, that shy grin lighting his face. About time you came back, Dad. Maya pulled back, wiping her nose with her sleeve. She looked at Ethan, then at Daniel, then up at Elaine, descending the terrace steps. We're a family? The question hung in the air, fragile as spun glass. Elaine reached them, her designer heels sinking into the grass. She touched Daniel's shoulder, tentative, like she was still learning how. Yes, she said, we're a family. Maya scrambled up, throwing her arms around Elaine's waist. Elaine staggered, laughing through her tears. Ethan joined them, his lanky frame folding into the embrace. Daniel stood last, his hand finding Elaine's. The circle closed. 4 broken people, 4 healing hearts. One unlikely family forming in the garden as stars began appearing overhead. Maya pulled back first, eyes bright. Can we have spaghetti tonight, all together? Whatever you want, sweetheart, Elaine said. And Ethan can play guitar? If he wants to. And Daddy Daniel can draw with me? Daddy Daniel? She said it like breathing now. Natural, certain. Every night if you want, Daniel said. Maya beamed, actually beamed. Then she grabbed Ethan's hand, pulling him toward the house. Come on, I'll show you my new colored pencils. They raced ahead, Maya's laughter floating back, a sound that had been missing for 3 years. Elaine and Daniel stood alone in the gathering dark. Daddy Daniel, she repeated softly. I should have asked if that was okay. It's perfect. She turned to face him. You are perfect. For her, for us. Later, after spaghetti and laughter, after Ethan's guitar and Maya's endless chatter about everything she'd saved up for 3 years, the house settled into quiet. Maya slept upstairs, mumbling half-sentences in her dreams. Ethan dozed on the couch, guitar still in his lap. Elaine found Daniel in the study, staring at Maya's drawing. Couldn't sleep? Kept thinking I'd wake up. Find out this was all a dream. She sat beside him on the leather sofa, close enough to touch, not quite touching. It's real. You're bored. Doesn't matter. Your career. I'll build a new one. She studied his profile. I'm scared too. Of what? Everything. Nothing. You leaving again, you staying, opening my heart, keeping it closed. She exhaled slowly. I haven't felt anything real since Marcus died. Built walls so high I lost Maya behind them. You didn't lose her. I did. But you found her. She shifted closer. I never thanked you properly. Don't need thanks. Daniel. She waited until he looked at her. I spent 3 years in therapy with Maya, hired specialists from Switzerland, speech paths from Harvard. Nothing. Then you sat on the floor and drew a crooked dog. Lucky guess. No, love. Her voice caught. You loved her when she couldn't love herself, when I was too broken to love her right. You always loved her right. I loved her safe. There's a difference. They sat in silence, processing the weight of the day. I didn't come here to fix her, Daniel said finally. Honestly, didn't think I could. Just saw a kid hurting, and I knew that hurt. When Sarah died, Ethan stopped talking for 2 months. Not 3 years, but still, I knew that silence. What changed? Time, patience. Someone finally sitting with him instead of trying to fix him. He met her eyes. Maya didn't need fixing. She needed someone to wait with her until she was ready. She fixed you. Daniel smiled, that rare, full smile that transformed his face. Yeah, she did. Both of them did. You all did. Upstairs, Maya's voice drifted down. Bluebirds, singing songs, Daddy Daniel, home. Elaine reached for his hand. Welcome home. He squeezed back. Good to be home. The morning sun caught the new paint on the community center's walls. Fresh white with accents of soft blue, Maya's choice. 6 weeks since that night in the garden, and everything had changed. Elaine stood in what used to be an abandoned warehouse, now transformed. Play areas with sensory corners, art stations with endless supplies, a small stage where children could find their voices again. She touched the business card in her pocket, her old title crossed out. Founder, Harrington Brooks Community Center, written beneath in Daniel's careful hand. Banners up, Ethan called from outside. Through the windows, she watched him and Daniel adjusting the sign, where every voice matters. Maya supervised from below, pointing when one corner drooped. Higher on the left, Daddy Daniel. Her voice carried clear and strong. Not quite the endless chatter of other 10-year-olds, but getting there. Each word a small victory. You ready for this? Daniel appeared beside her, paint smudged on his cheek. No, she smiled. But that's never stopped me before. By noon, families filled the center, some wealthy, referred by Elaine's few remaining society friends, most from Daniel's neighborhood, single parents, struggling families, children who'd stopped talking after losing someone, all of them searching for the same thing, hope. Elaine climbed the small platform they'd built near the entrance. The crowd quieted. 3 months ago, my daughter hadn't spoken in 3 years. Her voice carried steady and clear. I tried everything money could buy. Specialists, programs, therapies that cost more than most people's cars. Uncomfortable shifting from some of the wealthier parents. None of it worked. You know what did? A security guard sitting on the floor, drawing pictures on a napkin. Not trying to fix her, just being there. She found Daniel in the crowd, standing near the back with Ethan. That man taught me something my boardrooms never did. Healing doesn't come from throwing money at problems. It comes from presence, patience, love that doesn't keep score. Maya tugged at her dress. Elaine bent down. Can I say something? Elaine's breath caught. You sure? Maya nodded. She walked to the microphone, so small she had to stand on tiptoes. Daniel started forward, but she held up her hand. Wait, she could do this. The room held its breath. My daddy died. Her whisper echoed through the speakers. I stopped talking because words hurt too much, but Daddy Daniel drew me pictures. Ethan played me songs. Mommy learned to sit with me instead of trying to fix me. She paused, gathering courage. Thank you for listening. The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then thunder. Applause that shook the newly painted walls. Parents wiping tears. Children who understood that kind of hurt clapping hardest of all. Maya ran to Daniel, burying her face in his stomach. He scooped her up, his own eyes wet. Proud of you, little bird. Did I do good? You did perfect. The afternoon flew by. Ethan's guitar classes drew shy children who hummed along when words wouldn't come. Maya sat with a 5-year-old boy who hadn't spoken since his house burned down, teaching him to draw flames that didn't hurt. Daniel moved through the crowds, his presence calming anxious parents, his veterans' understanding recognizing trauma in its many forms. Elaine watched it all from her new office, really just a converted supply closet with a desk. No marble, No city view, just a window overlooking the main room where healing happened. "You gave up a lot for this." She turned. Daniel stood in the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee from the ancient machine they'd rescued from a church sale. "Did I?" She accepted the cup, grimacing at the first sip. Terrible coffee, donated furniture, a supply closet office. Most people would call that a downgrade. Most people are idiots. He laughed, that full, rich sound she'd grown to love. "Besides," she continued, "I gained more than I lost. A real purpose. A community." She met his eyes. "A family." Evening came too fast. The last families trickled out, promises to return tomorrow. Ethan started sweeping up art supplies while Maya carefully organized the pencils by color. "Leave it," Daniel said. "Let's eat." They gathered in the small kitchen, another donation, mismatched appliances but functional. Elaine heated soup she'd made that morning, her first attempt at cooking in years. Daniel sliced bread. Ethan set the wobbly table. Maya folded napkins into crooked flowers. Simple, ordinary, perfect. They ate quietly at first, exhausted from the day. Then Maya started giggling at how Ethan slurped his soup. Ethan retaliated by making faces. Soon Maya's giggle became laughter, real, belly-deep, uncontrolled laughter that filled the room like music. Elaine froze, spoon halfway to her mouth. 3 years? 3 years since she'd heard that sound. "You okay?" Daniel's hand covered hers. "Listen." Maya's laughter continued, mixed now with Ethan's. Pure joy, unforced, free. "That's the most beautiful sound," she whispered. Outside, the new sign flickered to life as the timer kicked on. Harrington Brooks Community Center, a place for second chances. The blue letters glowed against the darkening sky. Maya started humming between bites. The lullaby. Sarah's lullaby that Daniel had taught her, that she'd first whispered at the recital. But now it came easy, natural, like breathing. "We've found our family," Elaine said softly. Daniel squeezed her hand. Maya hummed. Ethan smiled. The soup grew cold, but nobody moved. Sometimes the best families aren't born. They're built from broken pieces, held together with patience and hope, and the quiet understanding that everyone deserves a second chance. The center sign glowed on, a beacon in the night. Tomorrow would bring more children, more silence to break, more healing to begin. But tonight, in this imperfect kitchen, with its wobbly table and donated dishes, a family sat complete. 4 voices where once there had been silence. 4 hearts learning to beat as one. Maya's humming continued, the lullaby once lost now alive again, floating through the center and out into the world, a promise that voices could return, that families could form in the most unexpected ways, that love was simply showing up and staying. If you enjoyed the story, I handpicked this next story that you will enjoy. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.